Good evening. I am Tony Dattino. Hopefully many of you know who I am by now. I've been doing live with Tony Facebooks under the USA Memory Championship now for almost a year, but certainly for a long time. And I really enjoy doing these. It, first of all, keeps me reading, keeps me learning new things, and it keeps me wanting to distill the nuggets of what I read and share them with my Facebook audience. So each week I get lots of different science reports and do research on the internet and magazines from Harvard and Berkeley's and whatever. And I get this now weekly paper that talks about the mind and body. So it comes weekly, and boy, it's almost like everybody should get this. It's called Mind and Body, and it's constantly giving me some really great tips, some new insights to the things that we talk about in our brain health series. In our brain health series, we talk about sleep and stress and nutrition and mental challenges, but we also talk about the importance of exercise. So here was an article I'm reading over the weekend that talks about the physical activity changes the very nature and structure of the brain. Physical activity changes the nature and structure of the human brain. So it starts by talking about the brain, singular, makes up 2% of our body mass, but consumes 15 to 20% of our body's blood flow, which exercise obviously helps and provides a benefit. So when people start thinking, well, gee, exercise is good for my aerobics, it's good for my physical, it's good for my heart, it's good for my digestive system, it's good to help me sleep. I mean, exercise, it's almost like the cure-all. And when we talk about exercise, we don't mean you need to be training for a marathon race or you need to be training for an Olympic weightlifting competition, or in fact that you have to be doing anything more than what you're able to do within your own physical limits. The factor of it is it means that you are active and that you are engaged in some type of normal physical activity, even if it's from walking 10 minutes a day or 10 minutes, as I've said in some of my live with Tony's, walking 10 minutes after dinner and just getting out and walking up and down the street. If you're in your house, walking from the front of the house to the back of the house several times. And maybe you'll put music on and listen to the radio for 15 minutes walking in your own house. Walking around your furniture. I mean, even during pandemics, there is no excuse for why you can't even get up and do walking. I've learned to do exercises while I'm watching television and just walking up and down a couple of solid surfaces, a couple of cinder blocks, and just walking up and down watching football or watching a sports event or watching a TV program. It doesn't matter. No reason why you shouldn't be able to do some form of simple physical exercise that we know is good for you. And if you're walking outside and you want to make sure you're distancing, and maybe you want to put a mask, an article this weekend was like, masks are not deadly and faith terminal when you're walking for exercise. But here's the reasons why, and this is really what was important. This is an article that comes from the Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland. And it comes from a professor of physiology by the name of Ine Kelly, Kelly, professor of physiology at Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland. So here we go. What's not visible to people, and we sure as know this because we don't have doctors that are telling us this and we aren't reading it if we're not subscribing to it, but what's less visible is the profound influence that physical exercise has on our structure of our brain. It physically will alter the structure of our brain chemistry and a physical physiology of it. And it preserves our health and it will help us to function better throughout our whole life. Now again, let's not get crazy. We're not marathon racing. We're not going to the gym and doing whatever, but we're being active. We're not just sitting, be sedentary over and over. And we're looking to put maybe 20 minutes into this 3 or 4 times a week. We'll talk about weightlifting another day, but right now we're talking aerobic, right? So we want to be able to function optimally throughout our life. So bingo, the first thing it clearly spells out in this research paper by the professor is exercise prevents total brain loss of volume. So the total loss of brain volume. Now, who thinks of our brain when you're exercising and we're going up and down steps or whatever, that it impacts our brain volume? Well, it's proven now that exercise actually helps brain volume and it maintains brain volume, which can lead to better functioning. It prevents shrinkage in other areas of the brain. So number two, so one, it builds volume. In reverse, it prevents shrinkage in certain areas that are crucial to the body, and one of which we're talking about in the brain is the hippocampus. And the hippocampus is vital for our memory, focus, and retention, and our ability to learn. So just think of, as you're exercising, you're building a stronger brain, you're putting more volume there, and you're minimizing shrinkage in areas that are vital to your ability to learn, to be creative, to retain information. Now, this starts to get to be too medical for people. I'm saying, just keep it basic. I'm not going to lose volume, and I'm going to prevent shrinking. The third thing it shows is that by exercising for 6 months, they were able to show in their study groups that people were actually then able to support. So the third thing is, okay, we talk about brain volume. Well, how do we know this? Well, they put people through 6 months of walking. Didn't have to be crazy. Let's just go out and walk. We can walk in the morning, we can walk at night, we can go up and down steps, we can walk up and down. But if you live in a two-family house, you can walk up and down your steps in your own house. I know a lot of townhouses have two stories, and how many people don't want to walk up and down stories? Well, guess what? Go up and down. I lived in a townhouse where it had a second floor. I would walk up and down those steps multiple times a day. And I loved it. It was great. It gave me good exercise. It gave me a chance to maintain a bit of aerobic fitness. And that was when I was able to go outside for certain circumstances and conditions. So, and another study showed that the shrinkage, so now we're going to talk about the shrinkage piece in the hippocampus, which is where you get your learning and your memory, your core of your memory. So in our USA Memory Championship, we have a seahorse, and people are asking us all the time, why a seahorse as the logo icon for the USA Memory Championship? And that is because the hippocampus looks like a seahorse. So if you were to take a picture of it, or you were able to get an MRI scan of it and pull it out, you'd say, oh, wow, that looks like a seahorse. A la the hippocampus, a la our icon for our memory trademark that we host as part of our USA Memory Championship. So this is going to help provide a basis for learning and retention. There's just so much in this article. I'm trying to grab the nuggets from you, not just read the paragraphs. But here was one that I thought was bullseye. This change by walking creates a protein. Now think about this. Now, if you're out physically walking, you're going to add proteins into your brain structure. Boy, we know that's a good thing. We know proteins in your brain are important and a great factor. And so by walking, we're going to increase the protein of brain-derived neurotrophic factors that flow in our bloodstream, and we call this BDNF. So think of brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's called BDNF. It's a protein that flows into your brain. And it is a protein essential. It's essential for cognitive function due to the role it plays in the brain's plasticity and its ability to change and adapt from experience. So let's think about what that's saying. So from exercising, we get a protein. Don't worry about what the protein is. Just know BDNF, okay, it's a protein that feeds the brain that's crucial for our plasticity. Now, plasticity in the brain means we can learn and continually alter its structure over time, as long as we're doing the things that we define as great things that are important for brain health. And so we wrap this up for tonight with the last point, with the BDNF is crucial for the brain's neurogenesis. And there have been a number of studies that are being done now more and more showing that we can have neurogenesis in the plasticity of our brain. Initially, it was mostly with younger kids, but they're finding it exists throughout all of us as long as we're maximizing the elements we provide for our brain health variables. And this is basically neurogenesis occurs in very few brain regions, specifically in the hippocampus. Oh my goodness, what's about the hippocampus? It's great for learning and memory. And what we find is that it is also a potential therapy. It's a potential exercising, physical movement is a potential therapy for psychiatric disorders such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, depression, and possibly cognitive impairment. This is not free lunch. It means getting off your butt, getting out about in some capacity, with the restrictions we have on pandemic. I don't cut people slack on that, because even if you got up and down out of a chair, so here, if you just get up and down, no hands, up and down, up and down, and start with 5. Just do it 5 times. And then tomorrow, 2 days later, do it 7 times. And I usually stop when I get to something 25 times. That's my magic number. I'm not sure where I created that from, but I want to be able to get enough of stress and enough of exercise to when I'm done, I can feel the breathing, I can feel the stress that I've put on my leg muscles. And what I know from reading things of this sort is that physical activity is going to change the structure of the brain, and I want to maintain my brain health no matter, because I want to live to be 100. That's my goal. Boom, I want to be a centurion, and I want to live to be 100. And from what I've learned from surveys over and over again, people worry most about their mental capacity as they get older, and I want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I know possible to maintain my physical health, but most importantly, my mental and cognitive health as well. That's my Monday 5 p.m. hour broadcast. I will be back on Wednesday, as I've mentioned before. I'm doing, during the holidays right now, I'm doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 5 p.m. hour broadcast. So until Wednesday evening at 5, in that time period, you have a good week. Let's start it off with some exercise, and I'll continue on this article when I come back on Wednesday.